what I want to talk about today briefly is just about how at Kapiti College we have integrated the two documents that we've been exposed to today. We are in a position, unlike Rowan, where we have been, we've had ESS or integrated studies at year 9 for the past 20 years. However, last year we went through what was known as the divorce amongst the school staff, where we have separated out because of the fact that we had a pretty bulky document to try and ensure that we were implementing, and we are also piloting the literacy and numeracy. And the English teachers, perhaps rightly or wrongly, we'll see how many typos in my PowerPoint, are a bit sceptical about our ability to teach some of the literacy skills in social sciences. So we'll see. So as we've been spoken to today, we have these drivers which are driving the need for curriculum change in social studies. So obviously we have the Aotearoa New Zealand histories, the social sciences refresh. We've got the importance of local curriculum and that being highlighted to us, that place-based pedagogy, and also in particular looking at these new NCA standards and ensuring that the mātauranga Māori is being brought down or throughout, and also to credit our geography teachers, our commerce teachers, or they don't like being called commerce now, that's a touchy subject, but that we're making sure that we are embedding the knowledge that they need, and they're a little bit worried that they're being pushed out with this Aotearoa Histories document. So making sure that they are embedded as well, and we're developing the skills that are going to be needed for these new standards. So this is a surprise to no one, but we've gone from this list of however many bullet points to this. Which is a bit overwhelming when you first look at it. Obviously these are going to be married together, so it may not look as daunting as it does up there, but needless to say, this is a pretty significant shift in what our curriculum is going to look like. So what we realised that we needed at Kapiti College was that we needed to do a really careful audit, as Rowan has already spoken about today. And what many of you, I'm sure, will be identifying through your audits is that we have lots of the stuff already, which is fantastic, although a lot of it is more by accident than purposeful design. But that's good, we're not starting from scratch. And what we also realised was, we're saying don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but sometimes you might need to, because actually sometimes what you've got is an inherited program that people may have been reluctant to change for a while about, and you've got some really old values in there, and actually here's a chance for a little bit of a zhuzh if you need it in your department. And also, where can we strengthen our programs? Where can Mātauranga Māori be driving? How can we bring in some Pacific values? Some of those things that are driving that NCA change, let's make sure it's driving our junior curriculum as well. And so, to the surprise of no one, it's a bit of a jigsaw trying to marry those two curriculum documents together when what we're used to is 6 bullet points or 8 bullet points, whatever it was. And our program at Kapiti looked a little bit shambolic because lots of people were creating their own units because it aligned to that AO, and we didn't really have a coherent program across our school, our junior program. So what we did, and this is what I'm sure many of you will be looking at now, we sort of zoomed out and we said, okay, what are the units that we kind of have at the moment that we quite like that do align? And let's see, okay, so where does it fit from the social studies and where does it fit from the Aotearoa histories? And we ended up with sort of a few blanks. We sort of had some units that we didn't really like. We have some units that the students love, namely the Holocaust. How are we looking at that? And then we worked out, well, what was being left out? And there were quite a few things that were being left out. And also, to what extent did these units deliberately develop that understand? So it's not just the know, but also the understand. We're not even getting towards the do at this stage. And like I said, it was a really big jigsaw puzzle. What was left over and how could we marry them all together to ensure that we had curriculum coverage? And as Kat referred to this morning, we've got a couple of documents that I sort of have pulled out that are driving some of our curriculum decision making. So we've got the Selecting Meaningful Topics, which is outlined in the Curriculum Refresh document. There's also this fantastic chapter from Hemi Dale in the Teaching Social Studies for Critical Active Citizenship, where he's looking about the development of tikanga a iwi, so the sort of equivalent-esque social sciences learning area in kaupapa Māori, and these fundamental principles which were developed. And I think these are a really good checklist for us in mainstream English medium education settings to think about, okay, how are we developing these within our subject areas? So if you have access to that text, which I'm sure most of your departments will do, there's a nice checklist in there, and he expands on those ideas further. Lots of these are now inherent in the curriculum document and the way it's been structured, which is fantastic, but also this is a really helpful checklist. The other thing that's now implementing our planning is looking at tapasa. Now these are the values or the ways that we should be teaching, but also challenging ourselves to think about not only is it how we're teaching, but also how we're ensuring that students are able to apply these values and these lenses to the contexts as well. And this one as well, the final thing, so developing conceptual understanding. So we've been sort of on a process of ensuring that rather than having really content-heavy units, which is what they have been sort of for the past, well, they were sort of 5 years ago when I came, that we're having a more conceptual-based curriculum. And for us, you know, the idea that within a unit we're allowing our students to explore different contexts and apply their those concepts across the context to really deepen their understanding, rather than just providing the one context for them to look at. So we've sort of got 4 key ideas. So how we're developing conceptual understanding, our mātauranga Māori, Pacific values, and then of course just generally selecting topics that our kids are interested in and that are going to challenge them and develop them as active citizens. So what did this end up looking like? Well, initially, after a bit of puzzling, I sort of came up with 2 programs that mixed and matched the different curriculum documents together. Because ultimately we are teaching a social sciences curriculum, although we have one document that's in its final. But really, for me and for my department, what we felt was important was that it wasn't just a histories unit, and then it was a geography unit, and then it was a something else unit. Because ultimately, as we know, you can't really teach one without the other, particularly if we're thinking about our place-based pedagogy. So we came up with 2 plans, and then I put it to the department. And like all good social scientists, they completely tore them apart. And we've kind of come to what we think is sort of maybe a happy medium-esque, and there's still a lot more fleshing out to go. Of course, for us in our context, our school has very close connections to Pariaka. Our school values have been gifted from them. We are Te Atiawa Whakarongotai has helped fund the marae that is on our school site. So their values are also a driving part of our curriculum. And it's not without its headaches, because whenever we put something else in, because we liked it, something else dropped out, and then we're like, oh, hang on, wait, now we're not covering this part. So how could we mix and match? So what it looks like is the moment, and now that I've just heard Rowan, I'm thinking, right, I've got to make sure that those mātauranga Māori concepts are more front and centre as well, so that's already shifted my thinking. Is something along this. So in year 9, we have it 3 times a week. So starting with Te Ranga Waiwai, and of course developing some good social inquiry questions. Looking at the Pacific, representation, migration at year 9, and then at year 10, we've got our fighting for human rights, a big colonisation unit which does tag a lot of the ANZH, looking at economic equality, how we're going to address poverty, and then looking at developing a New Zealand international relations unit. So we'll start on that next term with our year 10s. And starting right in here with the now and looking at New Zealand's relationship with Ukraine. Obviously we've been speaking at NATO, that's a bit of a shift in policy. And then of course bringing that back to the Aotearoa histories, where it's looking at New Zealand's changing role in conflict over time. So finding those opportunities for the contemporary. So in short, it was a bit of a headache trying to map it all out for our school. And there'll be lots of similarities to what other schools will be doing. I just wanted to share with you the way that we've done it. And that I guess in a way that it can be done. We do look at this and think, my goodness, there's a lot compared. But, you know, with a bit of deliberate planning and auditing, how it can be, in fact, covered. Of course, the potential challenge is the depth versus breadth argument, which is one that's been around in education for a very long time. That's nothing new. but when you see the shifts in how the two curriculum areas look, it seems more than ever. So we, some of those parts of the document of the no that might just be touched on for perhaps a week. Is that good enough? I don't know, but we'll see, I guess, as we go. So where are we heading to next? We are probably going to, that final program is going to be presented to my department again on Monday. I'm sure they will then proceed to tear it apart one more time. We need to develop our critical inquiry questions for each of our units. So we are at Year 9 this year and going for making sure that we've got a critical inquiry question. So these are some of the ones that we are going to be doing. So was Parihaka really a threat to the colonial government? What is the best way to address climate change in the Pacific? So those open-ended questions, that's what forms our assessment, is providing students an opportunity to try and answer those questions. I've got a meeting with some of our Year 12 and 13 senior social sciences students to get their input as to what they think our junior curriculum should look like. They're the students who have followed through, so what do they think it looks like? What did they enjoy? What do they remember? We have whānau hui every month with the parents of our Māori and Pacifica students. So I'm going to be meeting with them to talk about our Aotearoa New Zealand history, what are their hopes and concerns, presenting to them some of our ideas and hopefully getting their feedback. And then it's the development of the unit plans, and in particular, what we've worked on so far hasn't even looked at the do. And in essence, that's really what makes our discipline as well. So it's ensuring that we think about how we're going to work those in. And then, of course, it's building up our teachers' understanding of the context, because I have a feeling that really if we want to communicate those understands well, it's about our teacher knowledge and ensuring that we've got the capacity to really develop those understands. And I'm sure I'm not the only department where we often have a range of teachers that come in and teach junior social studies. So how can we upskill them to make sure they feel confident developing those understands? So that's my really brief presentation on where we're at, how we've married the two documents together. Like I think everyone said today, it's a journey. I just wanted to share sort of the process that we've gone through because we've needed to at Year 9 this year with rewriting Year 9 for the first time. Any pātai? Everyone's like, get me out of here into the pub. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.